Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to answer your questions, and the questions that were submitted are about GMO, corn, milling your own wheat, and kale. These are some really good topics, so I can't wait to get started. Hi, I'm Annette Reeder from the biblicalnutritionist.com, and it is my joy to serve you God's recipe for excellent health. While you're here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can get notified every time we post new videos, and we have videos coming out almost every day. Also, hit the bell next to it so you get notified. Now, here's one other step I want you to make. That was 2 steps. Now I want you to do the 3rd step. Go to my website, thebiblicalnutritionist.com, and grab the free download, 7 Steps to Amazing Biblical Health and 3 Lies That Prevent It. And you must read to the end. When you do that, you're going to get invited into our private Facebook group, Biblical Nutrition Academy. I look forward to joining you there, talking with you, answering more questions, and just having a good conversation. Plus, we have great challenges every month. I really want to meet you there. Doesn't matter what country either. All right, so let's get started. Question number 1. I eat kale raw, usually 1 stem with every meal. Is this too much every day? Can I or should I eat the stem as well? Thanks, Everyday Joe. Well, Joe, thanks for asking this question. I enjoy getting to know you better through your questions. Okay, let's just talk about the kale. Yes, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. 1 stem every meal is perfectly fine. I was just at a restaurant not too long ago, and they used kale as the bedding for the food that they were serving. I had ordered a taco salad, and the kale was the wrap underneath it. So I had to shred it all up and put it in my salad and forget the tortilla shell, just eat the salad. And it was delicious, but the people with me at the table thought I was crazy. So let's talk about that stem. The stem is totally nutritious. Some people don't like it because of its toughness and the high fibrous, strings in it. But if you chop that up really small and add that to a salad, totally delicious. Do not ever throw away the stem. Why throw away good nutrition when your body can benefit from it? Throwing it in a smoothie, no problem there. When I dehydrate my kale, I dehydrate it stem and all. Okay? I know if I let my kale grow too long, it gets a little kind of woody, but I still, because there's nutrients in there and I want them. Okay. So this is a really good question. Can you eat too much kale? No, but always remember, there are a lot of foods that God created, and there's 12 categories of cruciferous. So vary it up because they all have nutritional benefits that are different, which is why God allowed us a variety of food. Remember, we could be eating manna and quail forever, but He knew we needed some variety in our life. So go in and enjoy the other vegetables as well and vary up your diet because different vegetables have different antioxidants and different carotenoids and polyphenols, all of that. So the more variety in your diet, the better coverage you have for your health. Thanks for asking that question, Joe. Question number 2. This was submitted by Jonathan Belmont. He writes, I'm interested in the fact that you know which foods are genetically modified and ones that aren't. Could you give me more detail regarding that? Preferably, which foods should I be concerned about regarding GMOs and those I should not? Besides corn, of course. All right, good question, Jonathan. I appreciate your question. So in our Treasures of Healthy Living Bible study and in the DVD series and then the CD series and on our website, so we teach, and even in the 7 Steps of Biblical Health, we teach the 3 principles. It's what we anchor everything on when it comes to eating. The 3 principles are this. Number 1, eat the food that God called food. Number 2, eat it as close to the way He designed it. You'll have to get the book for number 3. Okay, so GMOs are totally an altered food when we're crossing different species. So we're not just, okay, I want to cross this daisy with this daisy to get a different effect, a taller daisy or a more bigger bloom daisy. We're crossing different species like a salmon with a mosquito. And it's just outside of God's natural design. And I have a feeling, Jonathan, that you already understand that. So your question is, which foods are GMO? So just to make sure I was 100% accurate, I went to the FDA website And so let me share with you the foods that are definite GMOs that we really need to be cautious about when we shop at the grocery store. Here's the list. Corn, as you mentioned, of course, soybeans, canola, cottonseed, sugar beets, Hawaiian papaya, some zucchini, and some squash. Those have been the standard for many years, but here you need to catch this. The new ones on the block are russet potatoes, apples, and alfalfa. Alfalfa, we saw that one coming, what's been talked about for many years. I was not aware of the russet potatoes and the apples. So Jonathan, you made me do some research, and I'm glad I did. Apples have always been on the high list of pesticides. And I have apple trees, and I understand why it's a high list of pesticides. I have yet to have an apple off my tree. This year it was close, but the squirrel beat me to them. So we have a lot of battles in my backyard, but you didn't ask about that. So I really want you to be very careful about what you eat and be very wise in your choices. But here's what I also want you to understand. Whoever controls our food controls us. This goes all the way back to the beginning of time with Eve in the garden. In fact, I have a podcast that's called Eve's Dilemma, What Happened to Our Food. I really recommend you go back and watch that. Let me see if I have in my notes which podcast that is. Okay, it's podcast episode 38. Podcast is called Biblical Nutrition Academy. Go to podcast number 38 and understand what happened to our food, what brought us to where we are today. And also think about this. Think about the story of Joseph. Okay, Joseph taken into captivity. A lot of those taken into captivity stories. Before he had a dream, 7 fat cows, 7 lean cows, taken into captivity. The dream came true. They had 7 great years and then 7 lean years. Well, that caused the Israelites to move to Egypt. And then then several hundred years later, we had to have the Exodus out of Egypt. All about food. It's all about food. A lot of things happening around us today, but it's always going to come down to who controls our food, because who controls our food controls us. And so the more we can control our own food, whatever I serve on this dinner table here, I want to control it as much as possible. So when I serve a meal and I've made my own bread, and let's just say we have a little venison. Well, I know where that came from, and I even know who butchered it. Maybe it's some vegetables from my garden. Maybe it's some fruit from my bushes or my trees. When I sit down to a meal like that, I know that I have had the most impact in that meal than any manufacturing company, any scientist. I have God-designed food for my family. And these 3 principles, they work and they're timeless. So I hope this has helped answer your question, Jonathan. I know it's a little bit more than what you asked for, but hey, I like to over-deliver. Thanks for asking that. Question number 3, she's referring to the video about sleep. So let me read the question. Hi, I love this video. I would love to try the corn extract as an added tool to my toolkit. I have been scouring the internet a bit, but curious if you have a recommendation for a brand to get. I don't seem to find a surplus of options. Thank you, Crystal, for this question. I had to put my glasses on because I'm going to read straight from my notes on this because we're getting into some science, and I like to make sure I state it correctly. So there is a corn grass extract known as Mazinol, Maizinol. So this is coming from the leaves of non-GMO corn. Remember, we just said how important that is. So it's coming from non-GMO corn. What happens is you can actually get extracts out of these leaves that are a natural mood health product. Not only that, they actually have an ingredient, which I'll just shorten it. I'm not going to give you the long science name. It shortens to 6-MBOA. This can act as a positive regulator of the melatonin system in your body. It can also enhance serotonin levels and improve mood. So there we have it. It's like, okay, this corn extract can actually help you sleep, whereas melatonin can cause a dependence. This does not cause a dependence. So it can help you sleep, it can elevate your mood, and you can be happy and rested. So it's a really good combination. So it helps with mood imbalance and also improves sleep. And so it's been proven to be much more superior than many of the melatonin sleep aids. So I'm glad you asked. You also asked if I had a link. This is the product that we use. It's called Sleep Sleep Plus. It's presented by the company called Amare. Amare is a fairly new company. Typically, I don't navigate to a new company because I like proven. But when I saw their science and I saw the products they were coming out with, and they're the first mental wellness company, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. And so my family's been using this now for over a year, and it was a very good change. I was very good at getting our health levels up to where we needed to be, but now we're reaching more of an optimal level, and especially with the mental focus as well. All right, so glad you asked. Number 4. Let me read this one for you. Hey, Biblical Nutritionist. That's a great entry. This is written by Justin Bennett. Hey, Biblical Nutritionist, can you refer any cheaper options for milling your own grain? $200 to $400 is not my price of affordability at this time in my life, and I'm sure there are others who can relate, who would like to eat healthy and process their own food. Do you have any recommendations that are $100 and under? The most I would like to spend is $150 to $180 max. Or if there are some non-mechanical ways to mill grain, that would be excellent too. This is a very good question because you're right. There are lots of people who would like to have cheaper options. I totally get it, okay? Because I was there as well. So what I did in the beginning, when I was just getting started with this, is I used my Vitamix. The Vitamix has a dry blade, so you have a wet blade pitcher and then you have a dry blade pitcher. The dry blade pitcher can mill grain as well. My other blenders did not work as well, but I have used them in a crunch. The problem is when you're wanting to mill enough wheat to make bread, it can take a lot of time. I do have a hand crank. I think the company is called Country Life, but it's not in your price range. And I'm not saying that to put you down, I'm just saying it's incredibly crazy how expensive they are if they have good inside working parts. Usually the inside working parts are coming from Germany, and there's reasons why they are as expensive as they are. I always have a hand crank in case power goes off. I've got it covered. I can always feed my family. Okay, so let's get back to your question. So a Vitamix, if you can get the dry blade, that will work really well. I've made a loaf of bread with my Vitamix milled flour and my regular Nutri-Mill milled flour, and you couldn't tell the difference in the bread. The difference was in the milling. It just took a lot longer, and you had to know, well, is it done or is it not done? Is that as small as the flakes are going to get? You know, that issue with the Vitamix. Okay, beyond that, there's always mills for sale on your Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay. People buy it. They think, oh, I'm going to do this. And then they just give up and put it up for sale, or their spouse says, why did you spend so much money? Get rid of that. And they sell it. So always be watching for good specials. Now, because of what's happened in our environment, not environment, but in our society with the shutdown and everything, they are more scarce, and the manufacturing companies are trying to get back caught up, but they're still kind of trickling in. All of our orders have been filled, but what I'm leading up to is this. They're going to probably have a fall sale. Most of the time sales are at Christmas time and Mother's Day. Well, we missed Mother's Day because of all of the issues, but there's always Christmas. And by then, all of the suppliers will be stocked and ready for a huge sale. So you can watch for that and see if you can get a good deal on that. If you go to our website, designedhealthyliving.com, and you put in the coupon code BAKE, B-A-K-E 2020, we're offering a discount as well. I understand what you're saying though. But you need to mill the wheat. I didn't need a Bosch mixer to get started, but I did need a mill. The other thing is, I have talked to churches and they have put mills in their church for anyone in the community to come in and use. That's a great ministry to the community. So I recommend talking to the churches in your area and asking them, for one, hey, have they done a bread class? Do they understand about the biblical significance of bread or the physical significance of bread? And then put a mill in the church. So this is just some different options, and I hope one of them works for you. Like I said, they're always for sale on the used market, and most people don't use these mills to their full extent. A good mill, the ones I've been buying, can last anywhere 10 to 15, 20 years, and I still don't expect it to have any problems. All right, Justin, thanks for asking that question. It is always my joy to share with you these answers and to share with you what God has on my heart, and today is no different. I just want to say to you this: be strong in the Lord, That is where our strength comes from. That is where our strength will always come from. It's not going to come from politics. It's not going to come from the people around us. It will always come from Him. Don't fear. Don't be ashamed. Just stand firm. Put on your armor. Live this day to the fullest. And don't forget, subscribe, like, hit the bell, go to the website, grab the free downloads, and hey, let's get connected on our Facebook group because I want to meet you a little bit more. I want to get to know you a little bit more, especially those of you around the world. It's been a great day in the Lord. I'm Annette Reeder, the Biblical Nutritionist. I just love coming and talking to you. So thank you for letting me do this. When you hit the subscribe button, it tells me I'm giving you what you want, and I appreciate that. And don't forget, drink some tea. All right?